Hey everybody in Lukman Nation, this is Jacqueline Lukman trying to get my stuff together here tonight. And okay, there we go. As you can see from the title, unfortunately, as things happen sometimes, Phil Wilayto and Anna Edwards from the Virginia Defender couldn't make it tonight. They had a last minute emergency, a couple other things going on, so they asked to reschedule our conversation to next Tuesday, which of course we'll do because I've been wanting to talk to them since the UNAC conference a few weeks ago, and their schedules have been crazy. They're recovering from having to organize the conference. They are the organizers of the conference of the United National Anti-War Coalition Conference that was held a few weeks ago. So they're recovering from that. And of course, I will make sure that they are available. Here we go. That they will be available. That I'll be available for them next Tuesday, so you and I can have this great conversation with them that I've been dying to have for what's it been, 3 weeks now, about Shockoe Bottom, the Shockoe Bottom Restoration Project. Remember the videos I did from Shockoe Bottom, which is the burial ground of Africans who were brought here to be enslaved, and it was the only approved burial ground for black people in Richmond for a long time. And I want to talk to them about the legacy of having to deal with the trying to restore the legacy of black history like that in Richmond, and have to reconcile that with the legacy of Confederate monuments. Whether you know it or not, there is actually going to be, I think, a protest by the Klan this weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. And the Klan is actually going to protest the proposed removal of a monument to Robert E. Lee in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I, of course, want to talk to Anna and Phil about what is it like? How difficult is it to fight for the restoration, the recognition of, and the restoration of black history in a city like Richmond, with such a rich Confederate history. And if you've ever been to Richmond, you've seen the Confederate monuments, and I showed you one of the most prominent of all people, Robert E. Lee in Richmond. So what's it like to have to fight for the recognition of black history and the restoration of black historical sites like Shockoe Bottom, and also to have to fight against this persistent romanticization of the Civil War from the Southern perspective at the same time. So I want to talk to them about that. And I definitely want to talk to them about the UNAC conference itself, about UNAC, the United National Anti-War Coalition, of which I am about to be a member. And absolutely, I want to talk to them about the little controversy that has been brewing in regard to that conference a few weeks ago. And I actually have, hi everybody, I actually have my comments up on the other screen, and I'm going to try to do this without causing a complete disaster. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, so I can see your comments in real time. So even though I have to reschedule the interview with two really, really cool people, I had such a good time meeting them and attending that conference for that one day. I really wished I could have been there for the whole weekend, Abdus and I, but we just had other obligations. But I had such a great time talking to them. And that's what I really like to do here in Coffee, Current Events, and Politics. I'm not so interested in telling people what position they should or should not take. That's up to you. What we like to do is to tell people the truth, because as you have heard us say, and this is actually something, it came to me like in the middle of the night. It was very weird. I was watching something on probably one of the many documentaries that Abdus and I love to watch in our spare time. We really are geeks like that. We really do sit on Netflix and watch, the latest documentaries we can find. We really are like that. And I was watching some documentary, and I thought to myself, what is Lukman Nation about? What is it? What are we trying to share with people? And I said, well, the truth. We're trying to share the truth. And then it just came to me, you know what? In Lukman Nation, truth is the only currency that matters. And that's pretty much what we are. I'm not interested in telling people who you should vote for, how you should look at your life. Everyone's story and experiences are important. But the truth is the truth. And sometimes the truth falls on Sometimes the truth falls in ways that disturb people, make them uncomfortable, um, causes people to question things that they've believed for a long time. Sometimes the truth causes people to question authority, which I think it should always do. But the truth should always make you think. I think if you find out something that you never knew before, and you do the research yourself, and this is something that I want to make sure to tell all of my friends, all of our friends here in Lukeman Nation, just because we say it, please don't believe it's true. This is what hi Robin, hi Johnny. This is what I have always believed, even in about like church. I do this even in church. I don't believe what the pastor tells me just because he says so. I have to go and read it myself, do the research myself, and then I can understand it. So if we tell you something here in Lukeman Nation, don't believe us just because we said so. Go research it yourself. And we provide you the information. We try not to be biased in the information we provide you, but the truth is the truth. And if you find out something that you didn't know before, it ought to make you think. It ought to make you question what you thought you believed. Because for so long in this country, we've all been ill-informed. We've all been misinformed. We've all been miseducated to some degree about just about everything. And when you unplug from the mainstream media, which is the main purveyor of misinformation, and you begin to peruse sources that are outside of those that you learn in school, and those that are pushed by the media, and those that are approved of by certain politicians and even religious leaders, when you start to do some investigation yourself, you find out that there is just an enormous world of information out there that's been kept from you practically all of your life. We've all been fed this myth, this mythos of America. And it's not that this country is not full of wonder and promise and fabulous and has the potential to be great. It's just that we're not entirely honest about how bad we've been. So we're continuing to have these issues, these discussions, these incidences like we had that came out of the UNAC conference a few weeks ago. And we continue to have these moments, like I said, over on the We Are the Media stream on Monday, of uncomfortableness, of reckoning, where we of a certain political or social ideology have to come to a reckoning. We have to have a reckoning about what we believe about some basic things, about some basic ideas. And almost invariably, every generation, racism is usually the issue. So we're having to revisit that again. And it is frustrating. It's extremely frustrating for many people who have been active in politics and social issues for decades. It's frustrating for me because my mom was active in politics and social and racial justice. And these were the conversations she had with white people, explaining what racism really is, explaining what racism isn't, explaining the difference between a black person who hates white people and the difference between systemic white supremacy that white people benefit from in this country, whether they agree with it or not, because that's how the system was built. These are discussions, these are conversations, these are explanations that we've had for, decades. I would even argue centuries. These are the same kinds of arguments that came out of the Niagara movement. The same kinds of discussions that Paul Robeson and W.E.B. Du Bois was having, and even Frederick Douglass. The same kinds of discussions that Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King Jr. were having, and Stokely Carmichael, and Ida B. Wells, and Fannie Lou Hamer. discussions about what the system of racial oppression is in this country, who it affects, and who it benefits directly and indirectly. We've been having these conversations for years. So yes, it is extremely frustrating to have to keep having these conversations because we are living in the information age now, and all of this information is out there for anybody who wants to see it. You can see almost every speech, public speech, that Stokely Carmichael, later known in his life as Kwame Ture, ever made. If you want to know what black revolutionary politics looks like, what it really is, you can find out if you want to. If you really want to know what Malcolm X said, what he believed, what he espoused, what he supported, you can find out if you want to. YouTube is a thing now, and it's an amazing thing. Hi, Pete. Let me say before I go on, and I'm not going to keep you guys long because for those of you who are just joining, unfortunately, the interview with Phil Wilayto and Anna Edwards from the Virginia Defender is rescheduled to next Tuesday. But I figured since you were all here, let's have a little chat anyway. But before I forget, I want to make sure that you go over to The Way with Anoa at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and you support her in the launch of Media Revolt and her conversation. She's having a conversation tonight with Dr. Margaret Flowers. And then at 9:30, I want you to make sure that you go over to Pete Perry's page. He's over there in the comments. You can see him. Pete, put your link up there so people can see it. Go over to Pete Perry's page because Pete's been doing some really important work. He has been doing a series on Racism 101 for white people. I think regular folks, and let me just make it clear, I don't actually think Pete is a regular folk. I think Pete is awesome. I think Pete, he's a guy who is dedicated to direct action activism. That's his life. And he is great at it. And for regular folks, for those of us who are in this social justice political revolution movement and have been in it for a while, to take the time out to have these conversations, absolutely critical. The experts, the sociologists, the psychologists, the historians, they're great. They're great. I've shared plenty of stuff from one of my favorite people, Dr. Joy DeGroy, and if we can get her on this show, her or Jane Elliott, or the guy who wrote an incredible book that I encourage you to get, who used to be the director of the Schomburg Center for African American History. I don't know why his name escapes me now, but you know, Dr. Eddie Glaude Jr., another great mind. Dr. Charles Ogletree, pioneer in litigating reparations for. I mean, these people are critical, and you can find out all of the information you want to about them and from them. Just go to YouTube. Absolutely, that information is critical. But these conversations that you and I have, these conversations that you hear, that you participate in with Anoa, these conversations that Pete Perry is having, and the conversations that I'm going to start tomorrow over on Brick by Brick, where, yes, I'm going to start talking about racism, but it's not going to be, you know, explaining to you what racism is. It's going to be from a slightly different perspective, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. You just have to come over there and watch. But these conversations are important. The different conversations from different perspectives, because we can each reach different groups of people. So please support all of the, somebody said it over here, please support the truth tellers in this movement. And I know that this racism conversation is so difficult. I mean, if you think the conversation is uncomfortable and difficult for you to have, imagine what it feels like for us. It is It is ridiculously hard to continue to repeat over and over again, this is what racism is, this is what racism isn't. A black person who hates all white people does not have the same effect on all white people as a group as white people who are able to and have the ability to craft and pass legislation that affects all black people. That's basic 101 stuff. But people continue to not believe it. People continue to reject it. People continue to hang on to their ideologies. People are comfortable with their cognitive dissonance. Because if they let go of it, then I think on some level people have to admit that this country isn't as fair as they've been led to believe that it is. So I understand these conversations are hard. Hi, Alita. Hey, Anoa. Hey, Kier. So, yeah, I get that these conversations are hard, and they're uncomfortable, and they can get heated, and stuff can get personal, and people's feelings can get hurt. But can I just offer to you that if we are ever going to solve this problem, and let me just say, I don't think we're ever going to get rid of racism, because racism is a human condition. It's a condition of the human heart. But what we're trying to face and end is systemic, institutional white supremacy. Individual white people's racism, I got no truck with that. You can feel about me how you want. That I have no control over that. But how you support politicians and support legislation that can channel that hatred of me, not only against me, but against everybody who looks like me, that's what we're fighting. So to the degree that individual people's feelings get hurt because we insist upon refining the terms that we've been using to have this discussion. We've gone from just general racism to white supremacy. We've gone from general racism to white privilege, which I get. A lot of people don't like the term privilege. But to the degree that some people's feelings get hurt because they feel like they're being unfairly characterized, our lives are at stake here. I mean, our lives really are at stake here. And the fate of the most vulnerable people in this country determines the fate of the entire country and much of the rest of the world. Martin Luther King alluded to that fact several times. So if we're going to waste our time trying to smooth over people's hurt feelings because they don't want to hear that they benefit from a level of privilege because they are white, I don't know what to tell you about that. That's just the truth. And we're all going to have to grow up a little bit and have these conversations that are real hard if we actually want to solve the problem of how to tackle and dismantle white supremacy in this country. If we just want to feel good, this is not the channel for you. I can tell you right now that the conversations that Anoa has, not the place for you. I can tell you right now the conversations that Pete Perry has, not the place for you. If we want this country to live up to the promise that it espouses on that parchment paper, that all men are created equal, and that we all have a right to the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness, we're going to have some grown-up hard conversations. And we don't have a lot of time left for all of us, for any of us, to coddle people's fragile feelings. We just don't, because we've ignored this issue for too long. for too long. We've ignored this issue to the point that the government is now doing to everyone else what it's been doing to us for centuries. And all the decades before now that we've tried to tell you what's been going on and you haven't listened. And when I say you, I always have to say this. When I say you, I don't mean you personally. I'm talking about those of you who might be listening to this right now, who might listen to it later, who are guilty of this. Who have said, well, look, let's not talk about black issues right now. Why do we always have to be so divisive? We need to fight together as the 99%. No, if we just talk about black issues, then what does that do for everybody else? It's not just about you. But see, refusing to address the particular and the intentional disenfranchisement and denial of opportunity and oppression of black and native people in that way. And I'm not even talking about conservatives, by the way, y'all. I'm not talking about conservatives doing that. We know what they do. I'm talking about the nice liberal people. I'm talking about the nice progressive people who want to talk about the 99% problems in general, who want to talk about income inequality in general, but who don't want to talk about the way income inequality is made worse if you're black or native. So because we've ignored these particular issues of disenfranchisement and oppression that have been targeted toward a particular group of people or a few particular groups of people, now we're at the point where it's happening to all of you. And now you want us to be sympathetic to what you're going through. And some of us, kind of justifiably, are sitting here going, oh, now you're concerned. Oh, well, it only took you feeling a little bit of fire for you to be concerned, huh? We told you, we're letting you into the laundry room of Black America. This is how some of us think. This is how some of us feel. This is where some of the frustration comes from. This is where some of the anger that so many people are upset about when we have to keep talking about these issues comes from. And then people get so focused on, oh my God, your tone is so mean. You're being a bully. People get so focused on how we are having to tell the truth for the 150th time that they once again ignore the actual issue that we've been trying to talk to you about 149 times before. So yeah, these conversations are really uncomfortable. They are very unpleasant. They are extremely emotional for a lot of black people. This isn't just politics for us, y'all. This isn't just trying to find our favorite politician. This isn't just trying to find our place in a political party. This is literally life and death for a lot of us. So that's why we're always talking about it, because our lives are impacted by this every single day in some way, every single day. So, you know, it's an ongoing conversation. And it's an ongoing conversation that we must have, and we must not shy away from it. We can't afford another generation of white supremacy and imperialist militarism that's fueled by white supremacy. We can't afford another generation of that. So, yes, please, 9 o'clock tonight, tune in to The Way with Anoa. And 9:30, if you can, tune in to Pete Perry. And if you can't catch their videos while they're live, please go and support them and share their stuff too. Share this with your friends and your family who you know doggone well don't get it, but you're afraid to talk to them. We'll do it. We'll do it. It's okay. Big teacup. So, okay, I wanted to take this time to point out something that happened over the past couple of days that shocked the heck out of me, and it tickled the heck out of my husband. I was just online, just doing what we do online, and somebody nominated me for this. I have to go look at it so I can get it right. I'm still so tickled by this. This is just the most. This is just the coolest thing. So somebody nominated me over at We Are the Media for this pick for the top independent journalist of 2017 poll. And I say somebody because, like, I don't know who did it. I know who did it. And the link is on our page. I'm really weird about sharing that myself because I am, yes, Alita, We Are the Media. I'm really weird about self-promotion. I'm not good at it. I'm very weird about it. I'm very weird about it. And but anyway, so somebody nominated me for, top independent journalist to, for people to vote for me for that. And I am saying this because it was so important to me that I make it clear to people that I wouldn't be doing this. And he's not here because he's out on the road right now. My husband is a truck driver. I know you've heard me call him my sexy truck driver. And he is my sexy truck driving husband. But I really need to make it clear for people. When people say nice things about me, I really don't want people to forget my husband. Because I would not be doing this if it were not for him. All of this whole coffee current events and politics thing, the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, the live streams, all of it was his idea. All of it. I have always been politically and socially aware and active. Well, not always, probably for about 20 years, for most of my adult life anyway, starting in my mid-20s, I guess. But I was, because I'm a little bit introverted. I'm probably more introverted than people think I am. I did not want to be out in front of anything or anybody talking about anything. But our first date, back in 2012, my husband and I, my now husband and I, we had this amazing conversation about politics. And I think we both kind of fell in love with each other that day, that moment when we realized, oh my God, we can talk about important things to each other that we can't talk about with other people. It was nice for me to go on a date with a man that I didn't have to talk about sports to, as much as I love sports, but it was nice. And it was nice for him to go on a date with a woman that he didn't have to pretend to like anything else other than politics with. So on that date in 2012, somewhere in October, September, something like that, he said to me, why don't you have a show? Because you are good at this, and you are smart, and you have the facts. How do you remember all that? And that is sexy. Oh my God. I'm just sitting there going, who would listen to me? You're listening to me because you're trying to come on to me. But who would listen to me? And we got married a little shy of a year later, in August of 2013. And he never let that go. Abda Shahid Lukman never let that idea of me having a show go. We would watch our favorite political shows on Sunday mornings before church. We liked the same shows. Both of us cried when Tim Russert passed away. Both of us loved Meet the Press. Both of us loved reading the newspaper. Both we loved that stuff. So at least twice a week, this man would say to me, "You really need to do your own show." And I just got tired of him saying it to me and said, "Okay, fine, fine, fine. I'll do the show if you do it with me," because he never wanted to be on camera. And that took a little bit of convincing, but we actually started with a podcast on Blog Talk Radio. And we didn't have anybody following us. We had one guy from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who was a Trump supporter last year, who would call us regularly. But he and another guy from Chicago, I think, and then another guy maybe in Detroit. Everyone, they're the only people who would call. But we started that Blog Talk Radio show in 2013. And we did that up until late last year, because we just couldn't afford the $100 a month to sustain, to pay for that service. So then we said, all right, let's really focus on this social media thing. Let's really focus on Facebook and YouTube right now. And so we've just gone back and reactivated the Blog Talk Radio account. And I had to go look at how long we had been doing that, because after the past couple of weeks, oh, you did, Pete? Pete liked 4 podcasts on Blog Talk Radio that were titled Green Tea Party. I remember doing those. Those were some good shows. But I had to go back and look at how long we've been doing this thing, this social media thing. The two of us sitting here just basically talking to each other for, almost 4 years, three and a half years now. And the time it's taken us to get, the little audience that we have. Because some pretty spurious accusations were made against myself and Anoa the past few weeks about the reason we participated in trying to deal with this issue of racism that's reared its ugly head in the progressive movement right now. People have said, the reason we're doing this is because we want attention, and, our shows are getting some traction now. And we were doing this when nobody listened, not even our family. And we did it because it's important. We did it because we figured at some point we were hoping that we would get somebody who would listen and say, "Oh, well, I never thought of it from that perspective. That's interesting." Just one, really, we both just sat there and said, if we could get one person to think of these issues from a different perspective, then this is worth it. Oh, believe me, we sat there on some days after we did, a 1.5 hour podcast and said, nobody listened to our show. Nobody called in. And yes, we've done live streams where, we're sitting there and 2 people are on. Yeah, yes. And then as we get involved with other groups of people, it's frustrating to see people who, are honestly politically clueless and definitely morally deficient and opportunistic get all of this attention and support. But again, we do this because the truth is important enough to keep doing it if only 20 people will listen. Because 3 years ago, it was 2. It was 2 people. Sometimes it was nobody. So for me, I know for Anoa, and she just said she went solo 2 months ago and appreciate building a platform and reaching people. We don't need to publicize or pontificate about the sky to thousands to be relevant. We're not doing this. We're not in this for the accolades. I know I'm not. I know that Anoa is not. I know that Pete is not. We're doing this because the truth is that important. So we talk about things that matter. And it's nice to be recognized by the great people over at We Are the Media. That was really, really nice. And I'm, like I said, I'm still really weird, kind of tingly feeling about it. I'm not sure how to handle that kind of stuff. My husband was just like, you just remember I discovered you. And he did. But we do this because the truth is important. Because we are living in a world, we are living in a country right now where obfuscation and fake news and alternative facts are legitimate things. And lack of knowledge really will cause us all to perish. It really will. So, I really appreciate everybody who saw the poll, who voted for me. I think seeing my face in the same little square with Amy Goodman is just, because she is my hero. She is my hero. Amy Goodman is my hero. I would have gotten arrested for assault at the People's Summit when I met her. It was a terrible, terrible, shameful fangirl moment, but I wasn't ashamed. It was amazing. But we don't do this, my husband and I, for the likes. We don't do it for the shares. It's nice that people want to watch us run our mouths. It's nice that people comment and want to have and want to have dialogue with us. It's great that people it's great that people think that we're truth tellers. We appreciate that. We really do. But the truth is important no matter who tells it. So you tell the truth too. We all have a voice. And now on social media, we all have a platform. Pete said I'm more interesting than Amy. I'm not. I don't think I am. But thank you. See, I'm weird with that kind of stuff. I'm not great with that. So I just wanted to make sure that I said publicly that I really appreciate the support from you all. And yes, we are trying to do some things. We're trying to get a documentary done that we would like to have finished at least by the middle or the end of next year, Baltimore After the Fire. So yes, we are going to put a link up for a Kickstarter campaign to get funding for that, because we can't do it for free. I mean, I'm magical, but I'm not that magical that I can make money make money appear like that. I wish I could. And yes, we have a Patreon account because we're upgrading our equipment. Because if we're going to do this, we want to do it right and we want to do it well. So we're absolutely asking that if you believe in what we do, then please consider supporting us. And if you have any suggestions for how else we can improve, let us know. And support Anoa. And support Pete. And support other truth tellers. We didn't start this like the TYTs of the world with CNN severance pay money. We've still got straight jobs that we need to pay our mortgages. This is our passion and we'd love to do it full time. But we'll take what we can get right now. Because the extra hours that we are spending outside of our day jobs and outside of being wives and husbands and mothers and outside of the other obligations that we have, it's that important. It's that important. So, I'm going to stop talking because you know how long I can go. And my husband is always telling me, you just don't know when to stop talking to people, do you? No, I actually don't. Because I like to have the conversations with good people. So, once again, 9 o'clock tonight, please check out The Way with Anoa. And as she unveils the launch of Media Revolt, and as she has a conversation with Dr. Margaret Flowers, 9:30 p.m., check out Pete Perry with his conversation on Racism 101 for White People tomorrow at 9 p.m. over on Brick by Brick. Yes, I'm starting a new series on racism myself. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. Look out for the Kickstarter link. What else am I supposed to say that I always forget? Subscribe to Coffee Current Events and Politics in Lukman Nation on YouTube. And thank you very much for tuning in. Y'all have a good night. Peace.